Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that could totally change the way you learn Chinese words, and more importantly, how you remember them.
So let's just jump right in with a question that I bet hits home for a lot of you. Do you ever feel like you're putting in the hours, you're studying the lists, but the Chinese words you learn just don't stick?
You know, if any of this sounds familiar, that feeling of being totally swamped, of words just vanishing when you try to speak, I want you to know you are so not alone. And let me be really clear about something. It is not your fault. The problem is almost always the method, not you. So, what are we even aiming for here? Well, to get to that fluent level in Chinese, the magic number is somewhere around 4,000 words. Now, I know that sounds like a huge number, but stick with me. It's way more doable than you think, as long as you have the right strategy. And the key word there is active. See, your active vocabulary, those are the words that are right there, on the tip of your tongue, ready to go into conversation. Then there's your passive vocabulary, and it's always going to be bigger. That's the stuff you recognize when you read it or hear someone else say it. Our mission is to build up that powerful, ready-to-use active vocabulary. Okay, so if building that active vocabulary is our main goal, why do the old school methods, the ones that rely on textbooks, so often leave us feeling stuck? Let's break down that old method.
All right, here's where things really fall apart. Your typical textbook, it just throws these long lists of words at you and expects you to memorize them by brute force. But guess what? That's not how our brains work. Our brains are connection machines. They want to find meaning to build on things we already know. And that right there, that is the core of the problem. When you just try to memorize a word as one big, isolated chunk, you're building on sand. You're completely missing what the little pieces of the word mean, and you're not hooking it into your brain's existing network. So of course it's hard to remember. Okay, so enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. I want to introduce you to a really powerful technique. I call it the living links method, and it is all about creating these strong, memorable connections that make words actually, well, stick. Now, before we go any further, there is one single golden rule to this whole thing, and it's this. We are not trying to be linguists here. We don't care if our connection is historically accurate. The only, and I mean only, question we need to ask is it memorable? If it helps you remember the word, then it's a fantastic connection. End of story. So, how do we actually build these living links? Well, you've got a toolkit with 3 main types of connections you can create. Let's go through them one by one. So, in our toolkit, we've got 3 amazing tools. First, we have character links, where we look at the meaning of the little pieces inside a word. Second, we've got sound links, where we get creative with what a word sounds like. And third, personal links, where we tie a word to our own life and our own memories. All right, tool number 1, using the characters themselves. This is often the most powerful tool in the box because most Chinese words are actually made up of 2 or more characters. So breaking them down is the perfect place to start. Okay, let's look at an example. Take the word 随便. This means something like casual or whatever. Now, if we look at the 2 characters it's made of, we have 随, which means to follow, and then we have 便, which means convenient. So what happens when we put them together? To follow what is convenient. Think about that. That is the perfect definition of being casual, isn't it? Just doing whatever is convenient. The meaning is literally baked right into the word. Once you see that, how could you ever forget what 随便 means? Okay, let's move on to our second tool, using the sounds. This is where we can have a little fun and get really creative. The idea is to use the sound of a Chinese word to create a funny or just plain weird picture in your head. Okay, check this one out. The word 比较. It means comparatively. Now, say it out loud with me. 比较, 比较. Doesn't that sound a little bit like Bee Gees' ow? Right? So you can just picture one of the Bee Gees shouting ow because they have to sing in a comparatively high voice. It's totally ridiculous, I know, but you're not going to forget it, are you? And that brings us to our third and final tool, using your personal memories. Now, this one can be the most powerful of all because it hooks new words directly into your own life, your experiences, your stories, things that are already important to you. Let's say you're trying to remember the word 说话, which means to speak. Instead of just staring at the flashcard, ask yourself this question. Who is the most talkative person I know? I mean, really think about it. Is it your aunt, a character from a TV show you love? By connecting shuahua to that specific person, you've just created a super strong personal anchor for that word.
Okay, now it is really important to get this next part. Creating a living link, that's the amazing first step. It's like making a really strong first impression that gets the word into your head. But it's just the beginning of the journey. It's not the whole story. Here's an analogy: rote memorization. That's like being at a party, shaking someone's hand, and then forgetting their name 2 seconds later. A living link, that's like having a fantastic, memorable conversation with that person. You're not going to forget them. It makes that first meeting with a word fun and really, really hard to forget. So what's the full path? How do we take a word from just recognizing it to actually using it? Well, it's a 3-step process. Step 1, you create that powerful living link. Step 2, you start noticing that word out in the wild, when you're reading, when you're listening. And step 3, you have to actively try to use it yourself when you speak. That's how it becomes yours.
You see, when you follow this process, you're not just memorizing. Not at all. You are building a foundation, a deep, interconnected web of knowledge in your mind. And every new word you learn has a whole network of things to connect to, which actually makes the next word you learn even easier.
And that really is the whole idea. So I want to leave you with a little challenge, a way to put this into practice right now. What's the first word you're going to make a living link for? Think of one that's been giving you trouble and give it a try. Thanks so much for watching.